From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN Noon News this Friday. I'm Augusta McDonnell. Let's get right to our top story. The Billings Towing Company that's come under fire recently for overcharging customers, sometimes by thousands of dollars, is now suing the Billings Police Department. It comes after the department removed Anderson Towing from their rotation after those claims came to light. However, the company now alleges their constitutional rights were violated with that decision. Our David J. has been following this story from the beginning and has the latest.
When an accident happens, the police will sometimes call for a tow truck. Anderson Towing has been permanently suspended from that rotation, and the company is now alleging that the city has violated its due process rights. When police respond to a crash and a tow truck is needed, officers will not be calling Anderson Towing.
Essentially a death penalty for a towing business.
Matthew Monforton is the attorney for Anderson Towing and says the suspension came about after a crash in downtown Billings.
This was a clear violation of Anderson Towing's right to be heard.
The court filing states Anderson Towing received no notice or hearing from BPD before this permanent suspension in violation of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Being on a towing list when you're a tow company is a property right that should not be taken away from the company without due process of law.
Retired District Court Judge Russell Fagg received a bill of more than $1,700 to pick up his dad's car. Fagg said he was overcharged, so he filed a complaint with the Office of Consumer Protection and later asked the city to take Anderson out of the rotation. In a letter to the city attorney's office, Russ Fagg said his goal is to have Anderson Towing taken out of the rotation for towing companies called by the BPD, so Billings citizens are no longer subject to their price gouging and mistreatment.
The permanent removal was based on Judge Fagg's allegation from a tow that occurred a month ago.
In court documents, Chief St. John stated in a letter to Anderson Towing, the city of Billings received informal complaints from citizens regarding excessive invoices received from Anderson Towing following local rotation calls. Anderson Towing is removed from the Billings local rotation. This decision is permanent and will not be reconsidered.
We have never seen what those informal complaints are.
A spokesperson says police followed the same procedures as the state for tow truck complaints.
When Anderson Towing gets to have their day in court, we're going to have the evidence to disprove these allegations.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
And Red Lodge Mountain is denying claims that they're not cooperating in an independent investigation started by Megan Zinni, the wife of Jeff Zinni. Jeff died just over 2 weeks ago after an erratic wind gust caused him to fall from the triple chair. 2 days after his death, Megan hired Brandon Conlon of Alpine Engineering of Utah to preserve and collect evidence. However, Heenan and Cook, who is now representing Megan, says Conlon has not been provided the same access to information as the expert hired by the owner of Red Lodge Mountain, JMA Ventures. And today, Red Lodge Mountain is responding to those allegations, saying, quote, an active independent investigation conducted by professional lift inspectors and other agencies is ongoing, and we're committed to continuing to fully cooperate with that process. We have shared what is currently known with Miss Zinni's lawyers and will continue to do so. They also say, quote, chairlift safety is our priority, and we too want to understand how this tragedy occurred. The triple chair at Red Lodge does remain closed.
Well, we're behind this area of low pressure, and in its wake, we are still seeing some cloud cover out there. Just a few spots here. Whitefish, still some cloudy skies. Also seeing some clouds draped across Great Falls right now. But on the flip side, not looking too bad there in Butte. Also in Billings, seeing a good bit of sunshine. But we're going to see some changes, though, as we head into the final weekend of March. Take a look at temperatures across the region. We've got, well, look up there in the northeast corner of the state where we do have some of our colder temperatures, and we do have some snow and ice up there. That's where we still have that winter weather advisory in effect. But we've got other things going as we head into the weekend. We'll take a look at all of this with the main forecast coming up.
And in today's leading look, an Anaconda man avoided prison time Thursday for sucker punching another man in a Butte bar, causing severe injuries. Brandon Fody was given a 6-year deferred sentence for aggravated assault for punching the unexpected victim in the face in September of 2023, fracturing his jaw and knocking him unconscious. The judge also ordered Fody to pay more than $11,000 in damages to the victim for dental and medical expenses resulting from that assault. Yesterday, Governor Greg Gianforte signed 2 highly watched and debated bills into law. One ties bathroom use to a person's biological sex. Another bans transgender athletes from women's sports. House Bill 121 requires transgender people to use the public bathrooms that align with their sex at birth and goes into law immediately. Meanwhile, House Bill 300 amends Montana's code to define allowing a biological male to compete in women's and girls' sports or use women's or girls' locker rooms as an act of discrimination towards female athletes. HB 300 is set to go into effect on July 1st. A legal challenge to the new laws has already been filed by the ACLU. And today we're shining a light on ketamine and the debate surrounding its use. Toxicology reports show a Wyoming mother who shot and killed her 4 daughters had large amounts of ketamine in her system when she then died by suicide in February. While it's not clear how Tranielle Harshman was accessing ketamine, family confirms it was being used to treat depression. Our Haley Monaco dives deeper into those treatments.
As a treatment for depression and even PTSD in outpatient clinics.
From high-profile cases such as Matthew Perry to more localized ones, you may hear the word ketamine, but not quite understand what it is.
It's been around since the early 60s and was originally developed as an alternative to some other anesthetics that are used in surgery.
According to psychiatrist Aaron Amato, in the early 2000s, researchers discovered the drug's antidepressant properties.
We've been offering it here within our clinic since 2016.
Amato was the first medical provider in Billings prescribing ketamine to patients and remains one of only a few to use it to counter depression. Ketamine, while legal, is not completely FDA approved. Like with many medications, ketamine can come with side effects. To name a few, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, increase in blood pressure, heart rate, breathing, feeling detached from yourself, your environment, or surroundings, loss of motor coordination, disorientation, or confusion.
Ketamine is a controlled substance, and so there is the potential for it to be abused or for people to sell it.
Often used with patients who haven't responded to other oral antidepressants, ketamine treatment with Amato involves either an IV infusion or nasal spray. The nasal spray is FDA approved. While the FDA maintains there is no evidence ketamine is more effective than other FDA-approved treatments, Amato says some of her patients have seen results within 24 hours.
They feel like they've gotten their lives back, and sometimes even that they feel like they wouldn't be here if they didn't have that treatment.
Although Amato does believe ketamine should only be administered in a medical setting, where patients can be monitored for adverse reactions.
There are some internet-based home ketamine companies now that will send ketamine to people's homes, and that's where I get very nervous about people experiencing adverse effects.
A drug with promising potential, but one still not mainstream for depression. In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
At a recent city council meeting, the Butte fire chief spoke in support of a controversial bill that he says will help streamline the chain of command when it comes to fire services. But a county commissioner says that volunteers were not involved in drafting the bill, and it is causing a deeper rift between volunteer and paid firefighters.
You know, this is where this discussion should have started, right here. Should have started in the council chambers, and in my opinion, should have been visited here, vented here, and then brought to the proper channels to see if we wanted to have a bill go to the legislature.
Commissioner Jim Fisher says House Bill 547 was drafted in secret and did not include input from the volunteer firefighters who stand to lose their board of trustees if the bill passes. Fire Chief Zach Osborne says he supports the bill because it establishes a clearly defined role for the Director of Fire Services.
When you do not have a structural plan, training, operations, a clear chain of command, a clear incident command at incidents, things can go terribly wrong.
The rift between departments has been widening for 5 decades.
I don't even want to go into any of the other parts that we brought up tonight because it'll be an unhealthy therapy session, right? 50 years later, we either need to fire our marriage counselor or we need to get a damn divorce.
Several career firefighters like Brian Sacharo joined the Butte Fire Chief in support of the bill. Chief Executive Gallagher also says he supports the bill and that it was not drafted in secret.
I want to address one comment about that there's secret meetings and this gets thrown around a lot. I can assure you, and on my mother and father's grave, and if you know me, I wouldn't say this ever, I did not have a meeting with the firemen about this bill.
Commissioner Jim Fisher says he does not support the bill, but other commissioners expressed mixed feelings. Several commissioners agreed that the council should have been given input on the drafting of the bill before it was sent to the legislature.
Now tell me if that isn't a shame that all these people from Glasgow, Eureka to Ekalaka and back, from Dillon over to east of Billings, Mont City, they're going to tell us how we should run Butte Silver Bow.
House Bill 547 will be heard before the legislature on Friday. In Butte, Megan Thompson, MTN News.